On today's show, I have Grant Schiller to revisit our debutante draft, go over the results, and to give his thoughts on this blockbuster trade.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan. Cover this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Joining me today is Grant Schiller, the OG Shill, the ball knower, prognosticator of baseball. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I can't believe that you've been doing this for 12 years now. And as a primarily podcast listener versus YouTube watcher, I got to say your graphic design skills have really grown on this channel over the years.
Yeah, shout out to the #1 podcast network for providing these Canva updates for me to look all fancy and nice and all of that. But we are going to get into all of it today, including our annual debutante draft, where Grant Schiller and I, both before the season, pick players who have yet to make their debuts. Not a debutante, but a debutante. It's spelled the same way, but the emphasis is there, so you know what we're talking about. Before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, last year, I reigned supreme over Grant Schiller with my glorious knowledge of ball, aka we alternate every year who gets the first overall pick, and Wyatt Langford was there, and so that was a pretty easy choice, and that was pretty much the nail in the coffin. And the other nail that Grant nailed from somehow the inside was selecting Jack Leiter in 2024, who had negative 1.6 baseball reference WAR. The way this works is we pick players who haven't made their debuts. If you've played even one game, you are off the board. It is a debutante draft, not a second game debutante draft, because that isn't quite as catchy. We go by who has the highest cumulative baseball reference WAR at the end of the season. Last year, trounced him. I believe the year before, Grant also thoroughly trounced me. I think in 2023, he also won because he picked Evan Carter at the very end as just a kind of shot in the dark. And man, that was what a brilliant pick that was. I mean, Evan was in Double-A at the time, and neither of us were like, okay, that was the last pick of the draft. We thought, all right, might as well throw a dartboard. Maybe he'll end up making an impact. Little did we know at the start of that season that he would be hitting third on a World Series winning team, which is just such a wild turn of events. But this year, there were no Evan Carters to draft. There were no Wyatt Langfords to draft. There were no Jack Leiters or Kumar Rockers, because both of them debuted last year. And so with the first overall pick this year, Grant Schiller picked Sebastian Walcott, who did not make it to the big leagues this year. A whopping 0 WAR, which in this game, sometimes you can save yourself by not having any WAR, as we have found out to be the case the last couple of years. With my first pick, I felt pretty darn good about selecting Emiliano Teodo. I thought this guy for sure is going to be getting high leverage outs, maybe even as recent as early in the season as June. And that very much did not happen. Just kind of a mess of a season for Emiliano Teodo. Thankfully, kind of got back on track at the very end of the season with a demotion to Double-A, back just staying in the level where it all kind of clicked for him in 2024. Also had a nice Arizona Fall League showing, but didn't pitch quite as much as I wanted him to. With the next pick, I said, you know what, Alejandro Ozuna, he's going to be a big leaguer someday, and I think that day is going to happen this year. I was absolutely correct, and I got a whopping 0.2 baseball reference WAR.
He was positive.
Positive. It was close. I was not sure it was going to get there with a 591 OPS, a 77 OPS plus. But I got it. I somehow got a positive WAR out of Alejandro Ozuna. Next up on the board was Winston Santos, drafted by Grant Schiller, and Winston Santos had a back injury that really sidelined him. Otherwise, I think Santos could have been in this pen especially when the Rangers were just desperately in need of somebody with some nasty stuff to maybe hold down the back of the pen. Alas, that is a cumulative 0 for 2 on the first 2 picks for Grant. I am 1 for 2. I then picked Skylar Hales, who is no longer in the Rangers organization. He was traded at the deadline for, I believe it was Merrill Kelly that he ended up in. That was the Phil Maton trade that Skylar Hales was involved in. Either way, he is not a member of the Texas Rangers. He is not even a big leaguer because that does still count if they make their debuts elsewhere or have rookie success elsewhere. But alas, a whopping 0 for me for Skylar Hales, only 1 out of 3. Then we go to Luis Corvello, a great pick by Grant Schiller, who made his debut and then ended up actually being a terrible pick at negative 0.4 baseball reference for a couple of rough outings. Really tanked this for Grant, but I mean, I really don't think that does justice. The overall numbers don't do justice to Luis Corvello being a valuable reliever. I mean, those high leverage outings in Seattle when he made his big league debut, I mean, those were truly electric outings. But in 17 outings, a 5.69 ERA, went pretty far in the negative at negative 0.4.
Can we make a judgment call here to add 1 full WAR just for the vibes of somebody who actually showed emotion and care for the team down the stretch?
If we're gonna do that, then we got to throw it on there for Alejandro Ozuna and his contribution to the Little Rascal Rangers. So
that's a great point.
It would be a push because 1 more might be enough to win this at this rate. Because the last pick that I had, Brian Magdaleno, who I don't even believe made it all the way up to AAA, a left-handed reliever who the Rangers decided to not protect on their 40-man roster for the Rule 5 draft, went undrafted. Maybe not shockingly because the command was not quite there, but a lefty who can hit in the upper 90s and has got a nasty slider. I thought somebody will take a chance on him. And if it's not the Rangers, then maybe he'll make his debut elsewhere. Alas, that was not the case. I only had Alejandro Ozuna with my 0.2 baseball reference WAR. And the last one on this list, Blaine Krim, the Mobile native. And this is where it gets tricky because Blaine Krim is counted as having a 0 baseball reference WAR, even though with the Rangers he had a negative 0.2 WAR, and in 15 games with the Rockies he had a positive 0.3 WAR. That should add up to positive 0.1, which would put Grant Schiller's grand total at negative 0.3. My total at positive 0.2. This was just the finest of margins and not a whole lot to show for it. I mean, even if you added Jack Leiter, who still has rookie eligibility, his baseball reference WAR also was not very high this year. I thought it really discounted a lot of what he did. If you add in Jack Leiter's 0.4 WAR, I think that would make it a either dead even tie or close, but still this was just a match of futility, and I am very, very proud to come out on top in a close game, something that unfortunately the Rangers didn't do very much of this year. Grant, do you have any thoughts from your a concession speech to make?
I think I've got 3 main things I want to say. First and foremost, congratulations on back-to-back wins. I have a lot of respect for this last year. I think 2 years ago was kind of handed to you with Langford. It's not me being a sore loser. I would never point it out. To be fair, I would never point it out. But this year, I think you really earned it with Osuna's defense. I guess.
Must be that corner outfield defense or something.
Second, I appreciate Blaine Krim for going positive or at least break even. Luis Corvello, DFA. And third, I propose a rule change for next year.
Okay.
So it's a rough year on the Rangers farm. With Courtney Help pitching in game 162, it's going to be a rough crop next year too. I am very much prepared to take a bunch of rookie ball guys to ensure that I'm at 0.0 and hope that you go negative. So to protect the sanctity of the draft, I vote that simply debuting starts us at half a win. So if you have 4 guys debut, that's 2 wins. In
Okay.
whatever WAR they add or subtract from that, we can do the math from there. But I think simply for making a debut, we should get some kind of points on the board.
You know what? I like that rule, and I will add it in for next year. Unfortunately, Jose Corniel ruining that this year. Neither of us took him. I thought about it, but I didn't end up going with him. Probably was a much safer bet than going with Magdaleno. But if I did, the negative 0.4 WAR from Corniel might have made this an absolute tie in the one game that he pitched. Somehow negative half a win. I don't know how that happens. How you have a negative half WAR in 1 2/3 innings unless you allow 20 runs. He only allowed 4. 3 of those were earned. I mean, I think that's a bit disingenuous for what was overall, I think, a decent debut in a very tough situation. But I like that rule of getting credit for just getting guys who got there. There were not many that were obvious gets in this one. You picked out 2. I picked out 1. Really, things kind of went off the rails. But those were about as obvious a candidates as we had. I mean, Walcott, it was even a bit of a stretch at the first pick, but if he made his debut, I mean, there was very much an Evan Carter-esque
There's
pipeline for him.
Right tail upside.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside there. And with me going first in next year's draft, we could see Sebastian Walcott be drafted next year and be the difference in that. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about Sebastian Walcott, what Grant saw from observing Sebastian Walcott in person this year, and some more thoughts on this Marcus Semien trade right after this. This show is brought to you by Gametime. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, it's easy, it's backed by the Gametime guarantee, so you'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app makes it so simple to get tickets to no matter what kind of games you're wanting to go to, whether you want to go to a baseball game, hockey game, basketball game, or not a game at all. You want to go see a concert or a comedy, whatever you want to go see, live events. Getting tickets through Gametime is the best way to do it. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show on Thanksgiving, yes, a show on Thanksgiving, I will give you the episode that I recorded mere moments before the Marcus Semien trade news broke. So you will hear me with a disclaimer early on, just reminding you not to remind me that this trade happened because I know I saw it. I will have now 4 episodes about that trade before this one comes out. But enough about this debutante draft. Let's talk about the first pick in this debutante draft. The Rangers' top prospect, Sebastian Walcott Grant, is the prospect prognosticator, the king of knowing ball and predicting the future when it comes to baseball. 100% accurate predictions, except for in this most recent debutante draft. What did you see from Sebastian Walcott this year in Frisco? What did you want to see from him this year? And did you see kind of what you were hoping for this year?
What I was hoping for was a transcendent superstar immediately, like Correa and Tatis were as shortstops in the Texas League. It probably wasn't super realistic given his age relative to those two. Walcott is, I think he started the year at 18 on opening day and pretty quickly turned 19. But either way, extremely young for the level. I think he didn't access the power as much as you might have expected because he has such prodigious power. And he had a couple of lengthy slumps. That being said, I think most of the takeaways are probably positive. And he was 19 and he ended up being an above average hitter for Texas League standards. Part of that might have been a walk rate above his true plate discipline levels because pitchers were scared of his power. And he was probably a little bit more passive than you want to be going forward. A lot of takes on strikes early in the count, and in Double A, you might not get a whole lot of strikes to the same amount that you're going to get in the big league, so you get away with a little bit more with some walks. But he cut his K rate down significantly. He obviously showed flashes because he has such incredible talent. He held his own as a 19-year-old shortstop in the league, and he took real steps at shortstop. If I had to guess, I still think he's a right fielder long term, but he's showing the progress at shortstop that leaves that in the realm of possibility, and you keep him there for now. So nothing this year changed my conviction that he is going to be a star in this league, but it may have slowed the helium on when that debut will occur and when he's going to be ready to be that impact player. It may not be at age 20 like he's been hoping it is. It may be more 22, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, he talked this year. I mean, he turned 19 in March. I can't remember when specifically. In March, it was like right before the season. I think it was the 18th, if I remember correctly. But he talked about wanting to be, the first, teenage big leaguer to make his debut since Juan Soto. I mean, that's the last position player wise. At least there have been a couple of pitchers that had made that jump at such a young age. But that's definitely something that he talked about. And you say right field. I mean, the Rangers now, one of the other effects that I'm actually just now, like as we are talking right this second, grappling with of that Marcus Semien trade is that, Nimmo's under contract for 5 years. I mean, Evan Carter has got a lot of years of club control. Wyatt Langford has got, 4 years of club control left. I mean, is it possible that, one of those guys gets, I don't think Evan Carter or Wyatt Langford, if they're healthy and playing, are going to get moved off. But like, what does that leave you to do with Brandon? Does Nimmo become a $20 million a year DH? Is that what eventually becomes his future?
He didn't have the bat to carry a DH role. I think Langford's probably your center fielder. Nimmo's your left fielder. And honestly, in the 3 to 5 year plan, I've removed Carter from the picture until he can show an ability to get on the field, stay on the field, and impact the baseball the way he was prior to this latest back injury. The way they were talking in spring training of this being a chronic condition he's just going to have to manage, and then having continued health issues and less impact of the ball again than he did in 23, it's all very concerning to me. And he's not someone that I think the Rangers should be banking on. Anything they get from him, fantastic, wonderful. If he does become the star that he has the ability to be, great. But I don't think that should be their plan A.
I think that's fair. But I'm a little less concerned. I think I'm really most angry at, was it Angel Zerpa that hit him with that pitch that kind of ruined all of that? Because I mean, he was showing strides this year. I mean, the quality of that bats is going to be there, and the fact that he was able to, it seemed like, get that bat condition under control, at least manage it pretty well. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be a 20-25 homer hitter. Maybe eventually, if that bat condition goes into remission, like I think that there's a possibility that it would, and maybe that's what happened a little bit in the middle chunk of the season when he was crushing it. But it makes me so pissed that like he was finally healthy, and then boom, this random freak pitch just takes him out for basically 2 months. It just sucks. Phil Maton, your left-handed equivalent, it can catch these hands.
But even that, it's not the first time with Carter, right? I don't know how much of this is freak injury that isn't on him and how much of it is just body type, but there's so little meat on those bones. And he had a wrist injury, pretty significant one, that really impacted him in 22 in the minor leagues. Maybe it was 23. I think it was 22.
No, it was 22.
Being hit by a pitch. And it happened again last year. And my theory, 22, and just to the naked eye, it seems like because he's so skin and bones, that he is more likely to be injured on pitches like that run up and in. So that might just be part of his profile, or maybe it's just a freak injury and it's unfortunate.
I am
But I
proposing.
don't know that it is out of the ordinary for what we'll expect from Carter.
I am proposing a medical solution. Now, I'm not a doctor. I got to clarify it this way. But what if we take some of the chunk, the excess chunk on Jock Peterson, and we put it on Evan Carter as kind of a protective barrier? And therefore, we get the best of both worlds, a slightly beefier, chunkier Evan Carter, not too beefy, not too chunky, and not taking all the chunk and therefore pop away from Jock Peterson. But some doctor out there, if this sounds up your alley, I feel like I might have revolutionized medicine and fixed the Texas Rangers lineup in one fell swoop. Coming up, talking about a guy who might have fixed the Texas Rangers lineup or at least made it a little bit better, Brandon Nimmo. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Let's look at some of these FanDuel odds right now for what is going to happen with the NBA season, who is going to be the champion this year, according to FanDuel on their site. Let's see awards races. Let's just go ahead and look at that, because I don't think that the Mavericks are going to be the favorites to win the whole thing. Right now, Luka Doncic, the third favorite to win the NBA MVP at plus 400, behind Nikola Jokic at plus 175, and the favorite SGA Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at plus 135. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. I will be back again. No Friday episode. Y'all got your 5 this weekend. Hopefully, there will be no breaking news, because I am headed to Georgia to be with my fiance's family for Thanksgiving. I will have some form of laptop, so if something crazy happens, like the Rangers sign Kyle Tucker or something, I don't know. Don't bake on that. But in a scenario like that, I will record an episode. If not, we can wait until Monday. So enjoy. If you've listened to all 5 of these shows and you want one extra, maybe you can just give me a call and we'll see. I got a 15-hour car ride ahead of me in my future, so maybe that will be the way you get your extra episodes. But let's talk about Brandon Nimmo, the newest Texas Ranger, the newest, it seems to be, right fielder is the plan after today's press conference. That seems like where the Rangers are going to put him, because they are loving what they're seeing from their everyday left fielder in Wyatt Langford. Maybe we'll see Evan Carter out there in center field if he is healthy, yada, 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 all those asterisks that you have to have. But I'm curious what your thoughts were on this move, how Brandon Nimmo helps this Rangers lineup. Does this not help the Rangers? Were you happy, sad, angry, confused about this trade? What were your initial takeaways, and how are you kind of feeling now about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think my initial reaction was sadness to see Marcus go. He's obviously a star on our first and only championship team. Leader in the clubhouse, which you probably could, if you wanted to, spin into a bad thing given the cultural issues the last couple of years. But I really liked what he stood for as a person, as a man, as a father. I had a lot of respect for Marcus the person. Even as he wasn't producing the last couple of years, he was still a valuable player because of his contributions in the field. So I was sad to see him go. At the same time, you can't help but understand it, right? I mean, like I said again, despite his leadership, cultural issues the last couple of years in the clubhouse, he hadn't produced in 2 years, and he's not getting younger. 3 years left on a large contract. You get it. You get why they want to move on from him, even if it's sad to see a Rangers Hall of Famer go. That I was still hoping we'd see a renaissance season from next year, just because I like the guy, not necessarily because I expected it. That being said, I don't know what kind of market was out there for him. I doubt there was much. In a perfect world, if you really want to move on from him, you probably have to buy down some of the contract to get some real value coming back. Nimmo in a vacuum is not who I would have chosen. for a move. I think he's on a similarly large contract, but with 2 additional years. He's younger than Marcus today, but he's also aging at a younger age than Marcus did. Marcus is what, the 34, 35 at this point?
He's heading into his age 35 season.
Okay.
And this is going to be age 33 season, so it's not that far off. And
Yeah.
Semien, I mean, took great care of his body, and not that Nimmo doesn't. I mean, you got to be able to play as many games as Nimmo has the last couple of years, but still, you got to wonder at least.
Right, and he's already showing signs of diminishing skills. He used to be a plus runner. He's not. He used to be a good center fielder. Now he's a corner outfielder. They're going to put him in right, I guess, but he doesn't really have a right fielder's arm. The bat was not as impactful the last couple of years as it was before, and I think there's some more concerning signs under the hood than maybe the top line number suggested last year. So I think you're seeing somebody whose skill set's already diminishing and is going to be more of an average player in a corner outfield position than a star. If you're extending 2 additional years of a large contract for 4 and 5 years down the line on a guy who's already showing the diminishing skill set, I think you're signing yourself up for a problem in a couple of years. I think he probably provides a little bit more value than Marcus in 2026, but I think it's probably a net negative beyond that. And honestly, I don't know that the Rangers are in a position right now where they need to be pushing their chips in for 2026 for something that's gonna be a net negative beyond. I don't know that they're going to be significantly competitive next year, given the needs of the ball club still and the expected resources to fill those needs, or the limited resources expected to fill those needs. So we'll see at the end of the offseason if they look like a true World Series contender. Okay, maybe, but I think it makes more sense for the 1-year plan than the 3 or 5. And I think the 5-year plan probably should be more of the focus for this team at this point.
Yeah, and part of me thinks that it's Ray Davis who's going to cash out after 2026 before the lockout. Like that is kind of what this screams to me of such just immense focus on penny pinching, but also still saying you're going to contend and like down the line, like you said, like this could. I think you're right. As recently as not next year, but the year after of 2027, Marcus Semien could be a better player overall, more value than Brandon Nimmo, and have 1 year left on his contract after 2027. Whereas Nimmo, it's still 2030. That's not a short contract by any means. I think there's some numbers there that you could tilt your head at and think, okay, well, his hard hit rate was way up there this year in a way that it hasn't been. Same with the average exit velo, like all that was nice, but like the walk rate and the chase rate being down from where they were in years past, like that's concerning. The bat speed dropping off is concerning for sure. The sprint speed, that's just kind of how it goes. I mean, this is the age 32 season. It's not like he's old. And in his age, he's heading into his age 33 season. And in Marcus's age 33 season, he was, the everyday starting second baseman of a World Series winning team. And that is not what Brandon Nimmo is probably going to be unless he switches positions and the Rangers win the World Series. But you get the point there. It is just, it felt like they acted like this was more of an imperative than I think it really needed to be. Like, I think it's short-sighted, for sure.
In all those metrics you ran through, right? More higher hard hit rate, barreling more balls, but doing it by increasing his chase rate, lowering his walk rate, and seeing lower bat speed. That's typically one of the more concerning points of the aging curve, because typically that correlates with somebody who's having to sell out more for fastballs to try and cheat, and so you increase your hard hit percentage for a little while you still have some of those skills, at least to an extent, where you can cheat to those fastballs and turn and pull them. But that's a dangerous game, and you normally only last a couple more years doing that. And then once that goes, those are the guys you tend to see really, really fall off at that point. So I hadn't looked through those numbers, but that honestly concerns me probably a little bit more than I already was.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I went from mildly okay with this to deeply, deeply concerned. And you know what? That feels like the state of Texas Rangers baseball at this point. We're gonna finish this episode for something we hadn't done in quite some time in the last couple of times that we've had podcasts together. We are going to do our random Ranger for you, longtime Locked On Rangers listeners. You know what this is. For those of you who have not been here for a random Ranger, you are in for a treat. We just pick a random Ranger, the most random Ranger we can find or think of, and we just slowly give each other hints until we get there. Grant, do you have your random Ranger in mind at this moment?
I certainly do.
Okay.
We are going to the day gone by. It was a beautiful world, beautiful culture, beautiful society. Everybody got along hand in hand. Culture of love. The day of the loogie. So we're going back to 2010. Now, this is a left-handed reliever purchased in the offseason from Detroit in 2009. He spent most of 2010 in the minors, but he came up for the stretch run. He was here for only the 1 year. In regular season, he came in for 13 games, and as a loogie would, he threw only 9 innings. In those 9 innings, he walked 7, he struck out 5, but he only gave up 4 runs for, if you can do math, a 4 ERA. He did make the playoff rosters. He came in for 3 games. Again, as a loogie would, he faced 1 batter in each game, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Who is this left-handed reliever?
Oh, is it Clay Rapata?
It is Clay Rapata indeed,
yes. Oh my goodness. Gosh. Clay Rapata. That is a fantastic random Ranger. For a second, I was thinking Michael Kirkman, but no, it's not Michael Kirkman. The jersey that I believe you saw in Game 1 of that World Series. What, like, a truly iconic, like what an amazing contribution. My random Ranger is a former 15th round picked back in 2008 out of the University of New Orleans, a university that I totally knew existed back in 2000. What?
Yeah, the Privateers.
Oh, of course, yes. Everybody knows the Privateers. Well versed in those Privateers. This is a guy who played 1 year with the Rangers, 2013, an outfielder, played 8 whole games, 15 plate appearances. Finished the year with a 967 OPS in that very brief span. Twice as many strikeouts as walks in 15 PAs, 4 hits, 2 doubles, and a partridge in a pear tree. Honestly, his career OPS was 742. It's a little surprising he didn't get more of a shot in the big leagues. Played 8 games with the Cardinals in 2014 and then finished his career with 88 games with the Rays in 2015 and did not see the big leagues ever again. Do you know who this random Ranger outfielder lists his positions? Designated hitter, left fielder, pinch hitter.
Wow. I think this is the first time I've ever blanked on one. And he played significantly for the Rays.
Yeah.
In a Rangers playoff season. No, I'm very disappointed in myself, but nobody's coming to mind.
This is Joey Butler.
That's the name that was on the tip of my tongue, and I thought he came up in like 08.
Born in Pascagoula High School in Mississippi. That is where he grew up. Pascagoula boy. just he started at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Wow, what a mouthful that is. In Perkinston, Mississippi, as we all know, and then made the leap to the big city, the big University of New Orleans. Just who could forget the likes of Joey Butler and Clay Rapata?
That's a great pull. That name had come to mind. I dismissed it because I thought he was a decade earlier. That's a great pull.
It is one of my more favored random Rangers. Eight games. That is a sweet spot for a random Ranger. A loogie and an 8-game outfielder. What a pair we are. Grant, thank you so much for joining me, y'all. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.